I can't remember a time when I wasn't making art. As a little girl, my mom had a sewing table that was my art studio in the laundry room, and it was like my place that I could go in and draw.
It wasn't until college that I picked up the guitar. I knew how to play the violin and I knew basics on piano, but I literally just started to hear melodies in my head, and I wanted an instrument that I could travel easily with. And of course, at that time was a big Bob Dylan fan and thought, okay, well, this is the way I'll go. So I just moved to Austin and dove into writing and learning from all the musicians I could around me and hanging out in clubs and just going at it.
I would say that my work is landscape, but probably not like typical landscape in terms of like the way I like to layer pattern as part of my background. Some of the paintings that I've done here in the park are a little bit more literal than my typical work, I would say. Resurrecting little molecules to sand again, as drops of morning dew.
I went to one of the park ranger talks this first day I got here, and they mentioned that someone had done the Appalachian Trail after World War II, and some comment about how he walked it because he wanted to walk the war out of him. And not that I can relate to having that same feeling, but the idea of doing something intently to get past something that's maybe eating you up or a tension inside of you, that's what I took from that park ranger and worked it into a song.
You know, writing poems is a lot about intentionality, and hiking is also about intentionality. The saying is like poetry is best words, best order, or something like that. And hiking is kind of like best footwork, best like awareness exactly of what you're doing and like what you're bringing with you. Often I would try to just really experience the hike or the walk in sort of like relative silence, and afterwards write stuff down and write down like what stood out to me the most. Some poems are definitely very associative for me, so I'll be out and you know, I wrote this one poem while I was here that about when like a bramble like brushed past my leg, and it reminded me of the time like a jellyfish stung me or something. So like those kinds of associative leaps might happen only by being in that environment, but they kind of, you know, slingshot you into your memories or something like that. Right now it's called 2 Days Past the Perseids. I made room for the man on Calf Mountain, and the brambles caught the skin of my leg. At first I only noticed the sting, until later when I spotted the thorns, chartreuse, near fluorescent, lodged into my quad, dotting the tanned skin bloody, scabbing so fast. The colors, the shape, the patchy stroke of a paintbrush that's been washed too many times, bristles pushed against the sink's basin, splayed and twirled around. It's funny, in that same exact spot, some 6 years before, a jellyfish wafted across me in the Atlantic, left near identical welts, pokeberries blushing on the skin. It's funny, parts of this land were once lodged under an ancient sea. There is memory everywhere if you want to see it. Even now, past the apple trees, the sprawling meadow, through the thicket and down the ridge, my blood trailed along, remembering. That night in bed, I pushed back the blankets, ran my thumb over the hot, raised tracks, mid-August meteors mapped across my thigh.
I did the majority of these lyrically on hiking. Most of my writing before has been done 50-50, like lyrics and the guitar in hand and lyrics at the same time. So this is pretty much the first time where I swung to doing about 80% of a song before I picked up the guitar, which is fine because in my mind, if a song is going to have a memorable melody, it should always be able to stand just alone. I got a song, it's called Swimming in the Trees, and this was inspired by two things, by a book I read here by a biologist about trees, and then also seeing kids along the trail. And I started thinking about the times I camped as a kid and what that felt like. So I tried to put myself in the kids' frame of mind, just wanting to play outside in the trees. And then, of course, it was an academic challenge for me to see how many different trees I could put in the song. Have you ever seen the maple leaves turn from green to red? Or sat upon a forest stump from an old oak fallen dead? Have you crawled into a sycamore and made a secret home? Or stared up at a canopy of pine needles and cones? If the answer's yes, then you'll agree. So come along with me. I'm a swimming in things like bark, like leaves, swimming in the dirt and the bugs, swimming in the branches. I'm taking my chances, swimming with the bats and doves. Oh, the more I walk, the less I talk, my thinking starts to slow. Let me go, I beg you please, swimming in the trees.
The photographs that I do tend to have a lot of complexity. I'm really interested in the entangled relationships. I build cameras that actually photograph round. There's a long story about how I came to do that work in that very particular way. But within that frame, that round frame, I'm usually looking at these very intimate, entangled relationships. They're kind of their own little ecosystems in a way. I feel like my ability to hold complexity now is considerably more. Most photographers think their next great photograph is a plane ride away, right? The next big trip. But I think for those of us that practice in nature, start to realize that the next great photograph is the next walk away, it's the next inch away. And the more intimate we become with a place, the more we know it. We have to be in conversation with our subject. We need to have a feel for who they are and what they offer.
And then we have our key change here, hold on.
Blue has been my color for as long as I can remember. And there's something that is just peaceful about it for me. And it's not a cobalt blue, it is a turquoise blue. When we think about the world, think about, we have blue in the waters and in the skies, and really wherever we go, there is blue somewhere, right? And I don't know, I just feel very comforted by that color.
As simple as maybe it sounds, it's actually really hard to do as a songwriter, to get out of your own way and just make it I kept trying to visualize like a family in a car and what would be a cool enough song that both the adults and the kids would want to sing it. One of my other experiences in the park was, of course, the sunset times, because everybody seems to go out to watch the sunset at an overlook or some edge of the campground. So that feature, of course, we're staring down into the west side, into the valley, and you start to see these little lights come up. And just the act of watching that sunset over and over again in the last 3 weeks inspired this song called The Valley. In the valley down below.
Being here and being in nature has kind of reminded me of what a poem's job is in many ways, or what to me a poem's job is, which is not necessarily to reproduce an image or to reproduce a certain experience, because that's nearly impossible, but it's instead to kind of settle into either an emotion or kind of for me a memory or something, and try to recreate that for somebody else or recreate that for an audience rather than just try to say like, the sun was gorgeous. Like everybody knows the sunset's gonna be gorgeous.
Beauty is a force. It is a powerful force. And that I think so often we don't give enough time to have beauty work its wonder on us. You know, it's like, oh, we saw the vista, now jump and run, or oh, we saw the thing, jump and run. And what we notice is that when we really slow down and let this power of beauty have its way with us, it also contains something of a quality of love and wholeness, and that people feel incredibly nourished by beauty.
I guess when you're a landscape painter, isn't it your dream just to go out and be in nature and paint the things around you? Is there a better thing than that? I don't think so. So I was excited to come for that reason. If you really open your eyes to things around you, you can see amazing small things and large things. Looking off and seeing the amazing shades of blue in the mountains. They go from this light, beautiful blue, and they become greener and darker as they get closer to seeing that acorn shell laying on the path as you walk down it. Yeah, there's so much to see here, so I hope people will come and visit.
I'm so grateful just for a space that is so open for both people and nature. It's cool to be on a path and know that a lot of people have walked it before you. I'm grateful to be in a space where the environment is really honored. I'm grateful that the arts are respected enough to have a residency made here.
I mean, I want to thank Shenandoah for having me as an artist. I think at first there was oh wow, I'm here, and now I'm isolated, and now I can't run away from what I would call my higher calling, my music.
Tomorrow begins again, as far as I